Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. My surname is Mpahama. I'm a subject advisor based here in Moteo District. Colleagues, we are aware that yesterday, grade 12 learners wrote the trial examination paper 2, mathematics paper 2. So today we are going to discuss the marking guideline for the paper that learners wrote yesterday. So the paper was 100 out of 150. We're expecting that our learners shall have seated down for 3 hours. So colleagues, let me not waste time. Please, this is the first examination that the cohort that you are having is writing for the first time. So let us use this examination for preparation of final examination. Colleagues, it's very important to make sure that when learners sit down for the final examination, then at least we are fully aware of what is it that we need to focus on to make sure that our learners are really prepared for the final papers. Colleagues, before I start, this is the marking guideline for mathematics, grade 12. So the first question there, colleagues, is a DBE. Yeah, I know there were questions about the 2020 years. Colleagues, yeah, this is the paper that we wrote yesterday, yes. But now before I start, colleagues, I think it's very important that we talk about these ones, colleagues. Yes, the notes, right? Very important, colleagues, if a candidate answers a question twice, only mark the first attempt. We only mark the first attempt. Very important, colleagues. So if a learner writes the first answer and then the intention of the learner was to delete that one and then he wrote the second one, but it did not, then you mark the first attempt. Colleagues, please let us not, look at maybe the second one is right. Let me know the first attempt, that is the one that we write, so that when the learners receive the script backs, then they see the importance of, if this one is wrong, then I need to scratch it out and then write the correct one. Then the second point there, if a candidate has crossed out an attempt of a question and not redone the questions, mark the crossed out version. Very important, more or less similar to the first one. The intention of the candidate realize now this question similarly, according to him or her, it is not correct, and then he or she decided to cross that question out with the intention of doing another one. But at the end of the day, because of time or other things that we don't know, then the learner does not do the questions. Then if you page through, then you can't get that question. Then you mark the crossed attempt, that crossed out version. That is the one that you are marking, colleagues. Now, CA, colleagues, applies in all aspects of the marking memorandum. Very important. I think most of us, we are aware of that. Then we stop marking at the second calculation error. In the very same 1.1, colleagues, the learners made a mistake, then we underline the mistake, then you mark according to the learner mistake. But if there is another second calculations error, colleagues, then we immediately stop marking, right? The last bullet there, colleagues, assuming answers, values in order to solve a problem is not acceptable. So if a learner assumed that this is 5, this is 1, without really showing any calculations, then that one is not acceptable. Very important, colleagues. Right, I must also talk to this part here of a geometry. Then we've got these letters S, we've got R, then we also have S/R. Very important, right? What is the S? When you see the S, what is the meaning of that? It says a mark for a correct statement. If we see a tick and S, it means we only give a mark for a correct statement. Very important here. It means we are not going to consider the reason. A statement mark is independent of the reason. So we are not going to look at the reason. You only give a mark for what? You only give a mark for the statement. Very important. Right. R says we give a mark for the correct reason. Colleagues, we need to get this one right. R, we give a mark for the correct reason. But colleagues, a reason mark may only be awarded if the statement is correct. we only give that mark for the reason if the statement is correct, if the statement talks to the reason. So that is the only time we give that 1 mark for the reason. Very important. Right. Then the last one, colleagues, is for the statement and the reason. So this one, we give a mark if the statement and the reason are both correct. We give this mark if a statement and the reasons are both correct, not one of the two. Please take note of these, colleagues' notes. They are very, very important. Right. Colleagues, let me go straight away to the first question. Colleagues, and then we look at that question. The instruction, colleagues, please let's encourage our learners to read the instructions every time they get the question papers. Pick up, just take note of the mistake that they committed and being aware that the instructions were given to them. Please pick those mistakes and then make sure that you discuss with the learners, when you give them the feedback in terms of their results. Right. The question 1, colleagues, here is a question 1. Then I will go straight to the questions. It was on the scatter plot. This is data that is given the temperature in degrees Celsius and number of hot drinks sold. Right. The first question, 1.1, I will read the whole questions, and then after that, then colleagues will look at the marking guideline. 1.1 says, describe the trend of the data. You describe, that was for 1 mark. And the second question, 1.1.2, then it says, we must determine the equation of the least square regression line for this data. And then from there, 1.1.3, then the owner observed that he had used 1 liter of milk for every 8 cups of hot drink sold. And if the temperature is at 1300 on the 11th day, was expected to be 17 degrees Celsius. You must predict the number of 1 liter boxes of milk the owner should buy for the 11th day. So that is 1.3. We must predict the number of 1 liter boxes of the milk the owner should buy for the 11th day. And then 1.4, then we identify an outlier in this data. So those are the first 4 questions, colleagues. Let us look at the marking guideline. What is it that is expected from us? Mainly, colleagues, we are going to look at the mark distributions. We're going to look at the mark distribution for each question. Right. For 1.1, colleagues, we give a 1 mark, only a mark, colleagues. Right, very important. You've got the first answer there. As the temperature increases, the number of hot drinks sold decreases. Then there's an increase, there's a decrease. Then we give a mark for that. So the temperature increase, then hot drinks sold decreases. Or then I can also say, as the temperature decreases, the number of hot drinks sold increases. So one of the 2, colleagues, you give 1 mark. Very important. Right. The second question was to determine the equation of the least square regression. Right. The first mark will go for the value of A, for 489.47. And then the second mark will go for the value of B, minus 10.37. And then the third mark will go for the equation. Very important, colleagues. Yes. That is 1.3, 1.2. Right, yes. Colleagues, let us not be too strict. 1.2, if the learner write answer only, then we can see what is the value of A, we can see what is the value of B, then there is the equation. Then we give full marks. That will be 3, colleagues. But in a case where the learner wrote A and B only, then the learner will get 2 out of what? 2 out of 3, because the equation is not there. The learner did not respond to the question. Right. 1.3, then 1 mark for substitution of 17. 1 mark for substitution of 17 in terms of x, in place of x. And then from there, the answer there, 314, number of hot drinks sold, 314. And then we say we can also accept 313 as well. Give that one a mark. And then from there, then the final answer there, then which is 40 boxes. Very, very important. But we cannot take 39.3. Cannot take 39.3. Then we're going to take exactly 40 boxes of 1 liters, because the question said how many of 1 liter boxes of milk. So if the learner left the question at 39.25 colleagues, then that learner will get 2 out of 3. Right, 1.4, then the outlier there, we've got 12 as a temperature, and then 230 number of hot drinks sold. 12 there temperature, and then 230 box, 230 number of hot drinks sold. So then it means for that point we give only 1 mark. So colleagues, the total for question 1 is 8 marks. The total for that question 1.1 to 1.4 is 8 marks. Now let's look at question 2. Right, for question 2, we've got a cumulative frequency graph. The graph was thrown for the learners. Let's look at the question first. The graph was thrown for the learners. Then 2.1, how many learners wrote the test? Then the 2.1.2, you're supposed to write it down the modal class of the data. And then 2.1.3, then you're supposed to give the number of how many learners qualify to get a bursary. Those are the first 3 questions, colleagues. Let's look at the marking guideline. How do we allocate marks? Right, the first mark will go for 175, which is only 1 mark allocated for that question. Then, colleagues, looking at the diagram here, you can see now, yes, it's between 172 as well as 174 as well as 176. So we can accept if a learner wrote 174, can give that learner a mark. If a learner wrote 176, you can also give that learner a mark. It is between 174 to 170, 176. 1 mark for that. Right. The second question, the modal class, is when x is greater or equals to 40 and when x is less than 50. That is where the modal class is. Then it's only 1 mark for that. Then we only give 1 mark. Right. 2.1.3. Then we've got 158. Then you can also accept 156 to 160. That is the second one, this one. And then from there, the answer, colleagues, is 17. That is the second mark. But you can also accept 15 to 19. You can also accept 15 to 19. Very important. Then, colleagues, when you mark this question again, please, we said CA apply throughout this marking guideline. Then there is 175 here, there is 175 here. It means whatever the learner wrote in 2.1.1, then the learner can also use it in 2.1.3. So we need to look at this one when we apply the CA. Please take note, 156 to 160. Let's look at that. Right, that is 2.1.3. So let's look at question 2.2. Let's look at question 2.2. The first one was on grouped data. Now this one is ungrouped. So we are supposed to calculate the mean. Obtained by these learners. Then the standard deviation of the learners' marks. And then from there, number of the learners whose marks lie more than 1 standard deviation above the mean. Yes, let's look at the first 3 first. Then we'll come to 2.3. Right, 2.2.1, 2 marks for the mean, 74.87. 2 marks. Right, and then 2.2.2. Then we can give 1 mark for the standard deviation. There is 16.12. So in a case whereby in 2.2.1 the learner did indicate, the sum divided by the number of score, which is 15, colleagues, we can give a 1 mark for the sum, and then the second mark then will be for the mean. Right, now, why do I raise this question? Because sometimes when the learners add, you find that they get a total different answers. But if whatever they have, then they divided by 15 colleagues. then we can see that. Please let us look at the sum of the scores. Then if they divided the sum of the scores by the 15, then whatever the answer they obtain there, we can see A if it is correct. Right, we spoke about it. The standard deviation is 1 mark, then 2.2.3, then we've got 1 mark for 90.99, and another mark there will be 3 learners. That is the second mark that we must give. Right, that is 2.2.3. Let's look at 2.3, colleagues. 2.3, we are supposed to calculate the standard deviation for the final grade 11 marks. So the given information there it is. So how do we mark the question? 2 marks for the mean, 88.4. We give 2 marks for that mean, 88.4. And then the third mark will go for the standard deviation, 5.7. Just look at the option that the learners have used, but they must get the standard deviation as 5.7. Or, this is another alternative. Then the same mark allocation, we've got the 2 marks for the mean, which is 88.4. Then the standard deviation also 5.7. Then that will be the third mark. So that is question 2, colleagues, in total. Then it is 12 marks. Please, colleagues, very important. Just make sure that some instances, not all alternatives are indicated on the marking guideline. So if you come across something that the learners wrote and you find out that is correct, please indicate it on your marking guideline. It's very important to write everything down so that when you mark, then at least you have a point of reference. Okay, that is question 2. Now, I go now to question 3. Question 3, let's look at question 3. It's analytical geometry. It's analytical geometry. Then this is the sketch that was given, drawn for the learners. Then the first question was to calculate the gradient of AB. And then the second question was show that the value of K is -6. And then the third question was to determine the equation of EA in the form y is equals to mx plus c. Then let's look at the first 3. Determine the equation of EA in the form y is equals to mx plus 3. Right. Under analytical geometry, there is a sketch. 3.1, because the learners were given that angle there that is formed by the positive x-axis with the line. So they are supposed to use it. So they get the gradient is equals to 1. The gradient is equals to 1. Then 1 mark for that answer. Gradient is equals to 1. Then the equation, we have it there. The question was to show that the value of K is -6. So the equation of AB, then the learners were supposed to determine the equation of AB. So they have that y is equals to x minus 10. And then from there, they substituted the x value into that equation. They substituted the coordinates of point A. The x is 4, and then the y is k. So they get that k is equals to -6. So we give 1 mark for what? We give 1 mark for the equation, and also give 1 mark for substitution or substitution of point A into that equation. Right. Another alternative, they can use the gradient. So the substitution of point A and B into the gradient, then we give that a mark. And then from there, then equate to 1, because you know that the gradient of AB is equals to 1. Then that is that, and then they will get K is equals to -6. So it's only 2 marks question. So that is that. Right, 3.3 was to determine the equation of EA. So the 2 lines are parallel. It means the gradient of EA is equals to -1/2. Then 1 mark for the gradient of that line. And then from there, the second mark will go for the substitution of the point for -6, which is on what? Which is on the line EA. That will be the second mark. And then from there, we have the third mark. Now for the what? For the equation. What is the equation? Y is equals to -1/2x minus 4. Very important, colleagues. Therefore, It means we need now to go back and then check what is the gradient. This one was given. It was given because it is from that line FB, y is equals to minus 1 over 2x plus 2. So it means they cannot make a mistake with the gradient here. Then also have that mark for substitution. Right, 3.4, 3.4.1. 3.4.1, we are supposed to calculate the size of theta, the length of BF, and the area of triangle ABF. Those are the first three questions in 3.4. Let's look at the marking guideline. Then first we have the tangent of beta is equals to negative 1 over 2. That is first mark. We'll go for that. The tangent of beta is equals to a negative half. Then the second mark will go for the value of beta there, 153,43, which is this one, colleagues. Then we give it a mark. And then from there, another mark then we'll go for what? We'll go for the value of theta, which is 71,57. Yes. Colleagues, you need to check now. It means in this one to get 71,57, we used the exterior angle of a triangle. We used the exterior angle of a triangle. So it means some of the learners, they can use the sum of the angle in a triangle. Please, let's take note of those other alternatives that learners might have used. And then, like I said earlier on, let's us write them down, colleagues, so that at least we remember while we are marking. Very, very important. Okay. Right, 4.2, the length of BF. Length of BF. We know that the coordinates of F is 0 and 2. Since this was not given, colleagues, we give it a 1 mark. How did they get this one here? Making x 0, because F is on the y-intercept, y-axis. So at that point, x is 0. Then from there, substitution into the correct formula there, the 8 minus 0 all squared plus minus 2 all squared. And then the answer, it's either they can write a square root of 80 or they can write 4 square root of 5. Then that will be the third mark. Right, 3.4.3, the area of triangle ABF. Here is the sketch, colleagues. The area of triangle ABF, area of triangle ABF, ABF. There we are, ABF. That is a triangle. Right, the first mark will go for the coordinates of point P. The first mark will go for the coordinates of point P, which is x is 4, y is 0. That is the first mark. The second mark then will go for the area of triangle ABP. Area of triangle ABP. Here we are, colleagues. Then the mark will go for this one, area of triangle ABP. Then that substitution. And then the other one then will go for the third mark will go for area of triangle APF. Area of triangle APF. That is that. So will be the second mark. The third mark will go for this one, colleagues. Right, from there, the final mark, which is the fourth mark, will go for 24 units square. Right, we'll go for the answer. The fourth mark will go for the answer, 2024. Okay, that is the first alternative. Let's look at another one. Another one, we can have the coordinates of C, which is 0 minus 10. Give a mark for that. And then from there, we give a mark for the area of FBT, colleagues. Take note of this one. It's FBT, not ABT. It's FBT. It's FBT. Then we're talking to this big triangle here. So let's correct that. Here it is on this side. It's correct. So 1 mark will go for this area of triangle FBT. And then the second mark will go for the area of triangle AFT. So that will be the third mark. And then the final mark will go for 24 units squared. Okay, right. Another one, colleagues, is the coordinates of T. Here is T. So T is a point, x is 2, y is minus 2. Then from there, we give a 1 mark for the area of FTB, which is half 6 times 4. Then the third mark will go for the area of TBA, which is half 6 also times 4. Then from there, the answer also is 24 square units or unit square. Yeah, please, colleagues, when you mark analytical geometry, it means you need time, you need to be relaxed, because you can see we've got a lot of alternatives here. We've got a lot. So please make sure that when you mark this question, colleagues, you are very careful so that our learners do not lose marks on this question. Right. The other question, which is, or that is the last alternative, then we can have the length of AB, which is 4 square root of 2 or square root of 32. Then from there, the area rule, or the formula of the area of a triangle ABF is half AB times BF sine of what? Sine of angle ABF. So we give this 1 mark. And then from there, the third mark will go for the substitution into the formula. Half root 32 times root 80 times sine of the angle 71,57, and then it will give us 24 square units. Very important. Colleagues, this question 3.4.3, there are a lot of alternatives for that question, and others, colleagues, that were not even mentioned here. Please make sure that you really look at those alternatives. Very, very important. Right, 3.5. 3.5, the question was to calculate the size of angle PAG. The question was to calculate the size of angle PAG, since we have APG as a parallelogram. Now, what is it that is expected from our learners? The mark allocation here, colleagues, is getting that angle CPB is equals to 26,57. That angle CPB is equals to 26,57. Right, the second mark will then go for RPB equals to 90 plus CPB. We know already CPB is that 26,57. So the second mark will go for that, adding to 90. Then from there, the third mark will go for angle RPB is now 116,57. Very important, colleagues. Then we'll go for 116,57. Thank you. Right, the final mark will go for the answer of the angle PAG, which is also 116,57. The corresponding angles, PB is parallel to AG. No, this mark, we don't give a mark for the reason. That mark is for the final answer, 116,57. Right, the second alternative, we've got OFP. OFP is equals to 63,43. Here it is. Then we also have FEA. Angle FEA is equals to 116,57. No, FEA is equals to 180 minus 62,43. These are the co-interior, because the two sides are parallel. And then the third mark then will go for the answer, 116,57. And then from there, the final mark will go for angle PAG is equals to the same 116,57, which is also corresponding angles. The two sides are parallel, because we are talking to the parallelogram. Right, we still have another one here, colleagues. We have APC is 90 degrees, 1 mark for that, or indicating that AP is equals to PC. Then the second mark will go for PAC is equals to 45. PAC is equals to 45. Here it is, colleagues. Please, it's not in line, but please make sure that you check that. And then the third mark will go for angle BAG. Angle BAG is equals to theta is equals to 71,57. That will be the third mark. And then the fourth mark, then we'll go for that now to say, okay, PAG is equals to 45 plus 71,57, which is equals to 116,57. That is the fourth mark. Colleagues, that is question 3, 20 marks. Like I said, the CA, colleagues, very, very important in this question. So we apply the CA throughout, and then take note of those ones that really need the CA. And then because of the number of alternatives that we have, we really need to take time, colleagues, when you mark the question. Right. The next question will be question 4. It's still analytical geometry. Then we've got 4.1. We've got 4.1 there. The equation of the circle centered at S. The equation is given. Then we must write down the coordinates of S. Then 4.1.2, we must show that the diameter of the circle centered at S is 4 units. And then from there, we've got 4.2.1, the length of EM. There is EM, which is the radius. Then from there, the gradient of the tangent FE. Then 4.2.3, then the coordinates of M. And then 4.2.4, then the coordinates of what? The coordinates of E. So I'll stop to that. Let's look at the question 4. Let's look at question 4, colleagues. The first mark will go for the x at S minus 8, and the second mark will go for 0, which is y, right? 2 marks. Then 4.1.2, r is equals to 2 from the equation. Therefore, the diameter will be 4 units. So for indicating that r is equals to 2, then we give 1 mark. Right, 4.2.1, the length of EM. So we have ER is equals to 6 units. So that is the length of ER. And then from there, EM is 3 units. Then that is the second mark. First mark, ER, 6 units. And then the second mark, EM is also 3 units. Then that is the second mark for that question. Right, 4.2.2. 1 mark for the substitution into the gradient formula, the coordinates of S as well as R. And then from there, we have now the gradient of SR. So it means this will be the first mark. The first mark will come for this one. And then the second mark will go for the answer, 3 divided by 4. So that will be the second mark. The third mark will then be gradient of FE is equals to minus 4 over 3. Then why is that? Tangent is perpendicular to the radius. Very important. So that will be the third mark. We only give that third mark for the gradient of FE, which is minus 4 divided by 3. Okay. Then 4.2.3, the coordinates of M. M is the center of the big circle. So we have MP is 3 units. And then from there, the length of SM is 5 units. We give a mark for that. And then from there, we're going to give the length of SP. Which is 4 units. There it is. Then that will be the third mark. And then from there, then we can now see that, okay, the coordinates of M is minus 4. X is minus 4. Then y is 3. That is where the mark will be. Allocated. So that is a 4 marks question. Right, 4.2.4, the coordinates of E. E, we've got we have the center, colleagues. We have the center. Then we're going to use the midpoint. So this one, the answer straight to the mark allocation straight to the answer. XE, there is minus 32 over 5. It's the first mark. And then the y value at E, then 6 divided by 5. These are the 2 marks. So please, let's make sure that we look into that. And then if they can use the translations, then we also give answer only here, minus 32 divided by 5, and also 6 divided by 5. That will be the second mark. Right, then we go for 4.3. 4.3. Then the next one is supposed to indicate that is S lie inside or outside the circle. So first mark will go for value of X. which is minus 5, and then the second mark will go for 3, minus 3. X value minus 5, and then Y value minus 3. Right. And then from here now we have the third mark for the substitution into the distance formula. Correct one, there we are. And then from there, the fourth mark will go for the length of SK. The fourth one will go for the length of SK. Then from there, you can now see that SK is greater than the radius. Therefore, S lies outside the circle. Right. The final mark will go for the conclusion. The final mark will go for the conclusion on this question. Very important. It's a 5 marks question. Okay, right, it was out of 19 colleagues, and the first one was out of 20. So yes, it means analytical geometry, the total marks is 39. It's 39. Yes, you're expecting plus or minus 40, plus or minus 40. Right, that is analytical geometry, colleagues. The next topic that we are going to is trigonometry. The next topic that we are going to now is trigonometry. Right. Maybe I can give colleagues just about 3 minutes just to summarize their notes, and then what they're having in front, so that you don't forget. Write them now, colleagues. I'm going to give you just 3 minutes break, and then after that we come back, colleagues, and then start with what? Start with trigonometry. Okay. Then just your 3 minutes, colleagues, start now, and then after that we come and talk. Right, welcome back, colleagues. Thank you very much. We completed statistics as well as analytical geometry. And let's now focus on trigonometry, which is question 5, the first question on trigonometry. We've got 5.1.1, 5.1.1, we've got 5.1.2, the tangent of alpha. Determine without using a calculator the value of each of the following: the tangent of alpha, the cos of alpha, and then 5.1.3, the cos of alpha plus 45 in the simplest form. This is the compound angle. Right, let me look at the first 3 questions. In question 5, the first mark in 5.1, colleagues, will go for the positive 2. We'll go for the positive 2. Right, and then 5.1.2, the first mark will go for OT is equals to square root of 5, which is the R, the hypotenuse. Okay, then from there, the answer minus 1 divided by square root of 5. That is the cos of alpha. Right, they've used the Pythagoras to get that square root of 5. Okay, right, then 5.1.3. We've got cos alpha plus 45 degrees. We give 1 mark for the expansion. Now, whereby now you expand that compound angle for cos. Then the second mark will go for substitution of the sine alpha. Substitution of sine alpha, which is a minus 2 divided by square root of 5. This one, the mark was already allocated in 5.1.2. Yes. And then from there, the third mark will go for the special angles. So root 2 over 2 as well as root 2 over 2. So both of them then give 1 mark. And then the answer in the simplest set form, square root of 2 divided by 2 root 5. So that will be the 4th mark. Right, the second alternative, expansion, 1 mark. Then substitution of the sine alpha, 1 mark. The focus here is on the minus 2 divided by square root of what? Minus 2 divided by square root of 5. And then the other mark then will go for the special angles, which is the 3rd mark. We give it for the special angles. And then the final mark then will go for 1 divided by square root of what? 1 divided by square root of 10. Right. And then we go for question 5.2. We go for question 5.2. 5.2, we have the sine of minus 20 degrees and the time is by the sine of 160 degrees minus cos of 60 degrees. So that is that, and then let me look at 5.3 as well. 5.3, then you simplify the expression to a single trigonometric ratio, and then from there, hence write down the range of f at x is equals to that. That is 2 marks. Let me look at the first 2 questions. Right, for 5.2 mark allocation there, we've got minus sine of 20, and then first mark, and also the second mark will go for the sine of 20 degrees as well. So that is the first mark, sine of 20 minus sine of 20, the second mark, positive sine of 20. Right, the third mark will go for the identity now. The third mark will go for 1 minus 2 sine squared 20. 1 minus 2 sine squared 20, and then the final mark will go for the answer, which is then will be minus 1. Right, that is 5.2. 5.3.1, the reduction. The reduction, we have 180 minus x cos squared, then it will be minus cos x. That minus cos x, then we give it a mark. That is a reduction. Minus cos x, we give it a mark. Right, the second mark will go for the identity. Which identity? The identity for the tangent, right? So we'll give that mark the sine x divided by the cos x. Right, the third mark will go for the simplification, right? Then the fourth mark will go for the simplification, whereby now we have 4 cos x times sine of x. From there, the final mark will go for the single ratio, which is trig ratio, which is 2 sine of 2x. So that is the 4 marks. The reduction, minus cos x, identity sine x divided by cos x, and then simplification, where now the learner simplified to get to 4 cos x times sine x, and then the answer there, the single ratio, 2 sine 2x. Right, 5.3.2, then the range, the critical values, it's a minus to the critical values, minus 2 as well as positive 2. Minus 2, positive 2, 1 mark. Right, the notation, square bracket, they are included. Square bracket, they are included. Okay, then the other option then will be, one learner can say, minus 2 less or equals to y less or equals to 2. So what is important is the included part. Minus 2 is a part of the solution. Positive 2 is also part of the solution. Very, very important. Right, now we can look at 5.4. 5.4 is an identity. The learners were supposed to prove the identity cos 3x divided by cos x is equals to 4 cos squared x minus 3. That was for 5 marks. Right, the first mark go for compound identity. The first mark go for compound identity. It means now we are on the what? We are on the left-hand side. We are on the left-hand side. This is the first mark, the compound angle identity. That is the first mark. Right, the second mark go for 2 cos squared x minus 1, the double angle. The second mark go for the double angle for cos 2x, which is 2 cos squared x minus 1. Right, the third mark will go for 2 sine x cos x. It's a double angle for what? It's a double angle for sine, which is this one, colleagues. Here it is, which is this one. Right, can be 1, then, or take 2 sine x cos x, you take 2 cos x sine x, then that one. Okay, but it's the first one. Right, and then the fourth mark, we agreed on this one. The fourth one then would be 1 minus cos squared x, 1 minus cos squared x from the square identity. Then we change the sign to the sine squared x to 1 minus cos squared x. And then from there, the expansion there, which is this one, that will be the final mark. Please, colleagues, some of the learners will take the long route to get to the answer, but you need to follow the steps that learners has taken to make sure that they get to that answer. What is important is where they deserve a mark, let them get that mark. Right, 5.5, learners were supposed to determine the general solutions of x in the following equation. 3 to the exponent of 2 the tangent of x minus 3 to the power of tangent of x plus 1 is equals to 54. Right, now this standard form, first mark, it's a quadratic. We've got 3 to the power of 2 tangent of x minus 3 times 3 the tangent of x. Now it means now the expansion, can you see that? That expansion there, minus 54 is equals to 0. And then from there you can factorize it. These are the factors. So the second mark will go for the factors. And then the third mark will go for both equations. Which one? The tangent of x is equals to 2. No, both equation will then be 3 to the power of tangent x is equals to 3 squared. And also this one, 3 to the power of tangent x is equals to minus 2. And then the fourth mark will go for tangent x is equals to 2, because this one there is no solution. And therefore, the final mark will go for 63. X is equals to 63,43. And then plus k times 180. That will be the final mark. X is equals to what? X is equals to 63,43 plus k times 180 degrees. Where k is element of what? Where k is element of the z. Right. We also have x is equals to that other part where we also have x is equals to 63,43 degrees plus k times 360 degrees. Where k is element of z, and also we also have 243,43 degrees plus k times 360. Remember this one, colleagues, when the learners have used now 360, so it means the tangent then will be positive in the first quadrant as well as the third quadrant. So we can allocate that mark. If it is not this one, then the fifth mark then will go for both of them, 63, that. And this one, if they did not use k times 180. Right, the total mark for question 5, colleagues, is 27. The total mark for that question is 27. Okay. Right, we go to question number 6. Question 6 is still trigonometry, but now these are the trig functions. We've got the graph of cos as well as the graph of the sine. So the two graphs are sketched. If the interval where x is element minus 180 to 90 degrees. So 6.1 for which values of x in that interval will f at x times g at x be greater or equals to 0. That was for 2 marks. And then 6.1.2 g at x is equals to minus 1. And 6.2, then the y-axis is moved 90 degrees to the right. Determine the new equation of the graph, originally called f, in its simplest form. Right, this is question 6. Let's look at the first question. The solution for 6.1, the endpoint minus 30 to 90 degrees. 1 mark. The endpoint we are referring to what? We are referring to minus 30 degrees, 90 degrees. That is the first mark. Then the second mark will go for the notation. Included. It means now if they've used the square bracket, then the notation is correct. If they use the square bracket, notation is correct. If they use the inequality, it must be less or equal. It must have both. It must be less or equal. Right, so that will be the second mark. Right, 6.1.2, that was where the values of x for which g at x is equals to minus 1. It's when x is equals to minus 180, that minus 180 get a mark, and the second one, 60 degrees, also get a mark. Okay, it's 2 marks question. They can just read that from there. They can just read it from the graph. Right, 6.2, we have cos x plus 90 get 1 mark. Cos x plus 90 get 1 mark. And then the second mark will go for the answer, which is equals to sine x plus 1. the reduction, sine x plus 1, the co-functions. Okay, then this is 2 marks. This is 2 marks. Please, colleagues, let's be very careful here, especially in terms of the notations. Make sure that they are correct. Okay. Then the last question on trigonometry is question 7, 2 and 3D problems. So here is a question. 7.1 says show that x is equals to 5 divided by 2 cos theta, and 7.2 you must calculate the length of BC if it is given that angle BAC is equals to 112 degrees and theta is equals to 30 degrees. So that is the second question. Okay, right, how is the mark allocation? Let's see, colleagues. The first mark go for the trig ratio for the sine theta is equals to AD divided by 5. That is the first mark. Right? And then the second mark, colleagues, go for what? The second mark go for the trig ratio. The sine of 2 theta is equals to AD divided by x. Yes, colleagues, this is the one that you are referring to. And then the third mark go for the double angle for sine, 2 sine theta cos theta. That is the third mark. Then the fourth mark, equating AD. Then AD there is equals to what? AD there we have x times 2 sine theta cos theta is equals to 5 multiplied by sine theta. We've got AD up, we've got AD here. So equating the two, then we get the fourth mark. And then the final mark will be making x the subject of the formula. Making x the subject of the formula before simplifying. That is where we'll give the final mark. Very important on this one. Then the second question. We've got now a BC squared is equals to 5 squared plus 5 divided by that all squared. Clearly, colleagues, on the marking guideline is written the area. It's supposed to be the cos. Use the cos rule. Use the cosine rule, not the area rule. So we give 1 mark for using the cosine rule. Please correct that. Right, and then from there, the second mark will be for substitution into the cosine rule. Then we have the answer there, which is 6,64 units, So that is the length of BC. Right. Question 7, 8 marks. Question 7, 8 marks. Yeah, it's just a straightforward question. If the learner know their trig ratios, and they remember the rules, the sine rule and the cosine rule, then they're able to select the correct one. Then, yeah, the question was straightforward. Right, colleagues, that is where the trigonometry ends with the 2 and 3D. That question is 8 marks. Now, the next question that, colleagues, we are going to is question 8, which is on Euclidean geometry. The next question is question 8, which is Euclidean geometry. Colleagues, you remember I did provide explanation for the letters, the S and the R. Nay? Yes, now it's the time now where we are going to apply those letters now. It's time where we are going to apply those letters. Thank you. Right, the first question in question 8. The first question in question 8 was to prove that SLK is equals to angle P. Right, was to prove that SLK, which is SLK, is equals to that. That is the tan chord. Right, for 6 marks. Okay, right, where do we give first mark? Construction. Very important. Construction, draw diameter LT and then draw TP. We give a mark. Colleagues, take note. We must also give a mark if the construction is on the sketch. Sometimes the learners just construct on the sketch and not writing the statement. If the construction, colleagues, is clear, then you can see, then you award that construction mark on the sketch. Right, and then the second mark will go for SLK is equals to 90 minus TLK. That is the second mark. The third mark then will go for the resin. That is the tangent. Radius is perpendicular to the tangent. Right. The fourth mark will go for angle TPL is equals to 90 degrees. Ne? Angle in a semicircle. So remember, we said for this one, both statement and the reason must be correct. But for S, it means we focus on the statement, which is 90 degrees minus T angle TLK is equals to that. And then R is for the resin. The radius is perpendicular to the tangent. Right. And then that is a fourth mark. And then mark number 5, then we're going to give it for 90 degrees is equal 90 degrees minus angle TLK. KLP is equals to 90 degrees minus TLK. Then that is the mark number 5. Then mark number 6, which is the final mark, then we'll go for the resin. Angles in the same segment. Angle in the same segment. It means mark for the statement, mark for the resin. But remember, we always say we give the resin mark if the statement is correct. No mark for the final answer here, because that's what the learners were supposed to prove. Right. Then we have another alternative here, still the same. Construction will get 1 mark. Construction will get 1 mark. And the second mark will go for the statement and the reason. SLK is equals to 90. No, the statement LKT is equals to 90 degrees. Okay, colleagues, let's correct this one. The first mark on the second statement will go for the statement wherever you say SLK is equals to 90 degrees minus TLK. That is the first mark. And then the second mark will go for radius is perpendicular to the tangent. So this mark here, colleagues, go here. Right? Right, and then from there, LKT is equals to 90 degrees. Angle in the semicircle. That is a statement in the reason. That is a statement in the reason. You can see now they're still the same. Angle in the same TLP, and also we still have the same thing here. Then SLK is also 90. LKT, where is LKT? Is here LKT, here it is 90 degrees. So still the same. So statement and the reason will get 1 mark for the second one. Okay? Then from there, for the statement where we have now what? Where we have now P is equals to KTL. P is equals to KTL. We give that mark. And then from there, colleagues, the final mark then will go for the statement and the reason, whereby now we say now we've got 90 degrees minus TLK, which is the angle in the same segment. So this one, marks are not exactly the way they are, but more or less, colleagues, the mark allocation is still the same as the first option that we are having up there. Still the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 marks. We have 6 marks, and also here 6 marks as well. Okay, right. 8.2. A. We want the size of S1. Then we want the size of O1. We want the size of R1. And then 8.2, then learners are supposed to prove that SP is parallel to TW. Right, S1 is 25, statement, 1 mark. Then resin tan chord theorem. So 1 mark for the statement, 1 mark for the resin. Right, 8.2.1, statement, O1 is equals to 50 degrees, 1 mark. And then angle at the center, twice angle at the circumference, that will be the second mark. So 8.2.1, we've got mark for the statement. R2 is equals to W3 plus angle W4 is equals to 65. And the reason, angle opposite equals radius, radi. So that will be the second mark. And the third mark will go for the statement in the reason, P is equals to 60 degrees. And then the fourth mark then will go for the statement R1 is equals to 55. Then the final mark for the reason, opposite angles of a cyclic quad. So it's a 5 marks question. Then from there we go to 8.2.3. 8.2.3, we've got W1 is equals to S2 is equals to 60, which is the Tan-Cot theorem. So this one, both statement and the reason get 1 mark. Both statement and the reason get mark. Colleagues, very important. The statement must talk to the reason. If the statement is wrong and the reason is correct, then we don't give the mark. Right. And then the other mark, colleagues, we then give it for the statement W is equals to P is equals to 60 degrees. That will be the second mark. W is equals to P is equals to 60 degrees. And then the final mark we give, yes, SP is parallel to TW. But the mark we allocated for what? Alternating angles are equal. Alternating angles are equal. Thank you. That will be the final mark. Right, 8.3. 8.3.1. If mg is equals to 6 units and OM is equals to x, write hm in terms of x. Write hm in terms of x. It's for 2 marks. And then 8.3.2, then calculate, given reason, the length of the radius of the circle. Okay, first mark will go for the statement OG is x plus 6. Then the second mark will go for therefore hm is equals to 2x plus 6. It's 2 marks. Then 8.3.2, the statement there OM is perpendicular to JL, 1 mark. This one is for that statement, and then the reason, line from the center to the midpoint of the chord. That will be the second mark. Right, from there we have the third mark for the substitution to the Pythagoras theorem, x plus 6 all squared is equals to 12 squared plus x squared. And then the value of x is equals to 9. That will be the fourth mark. And the final mark, then we give it for the length of the radius, which r is equals to 15 units. Right, another alternative statement, OEM is perpendicular to JL, and the reason, line from the center to the midpoint of the chord, still the same as the first one. Then from there, the third mark will go for the substitution to the Pythagoras. 12 square root of 5 all squared is equals to 2x plus 6 all squared plus 12 squared. Then from there, the fourth mark will go for the value of x. X is equals to 9. And then the final mark will go for the radius, which is equals to 15 units. Right, colleagues, that is question 8. That is question 8 with 25 marks. Yes, a lot of marks in this question. Alone is 25. It's 25 marks. Yes. Now we go to the question 9. Question 9 focuses mainly on both grade 11 and grade 12 geometry. Right. Let's look at question 9.1. Prove and give reasons that TQ divided by QP is equals to WR divided by RP. 3 marks. And 9.2 for 5 marks, prove that TPVW is a cyclic quad. Must prove that this is a cyclic quadrilateral. Right. How do we allocate marks? The first mark will go for the statement, which is statement TQ divided over QP is equals to VS over SP. That is the first mark, the statement. Then the reason, proportional theorem. Very important to indicate that TV is parallel to QS. Right. And then another mark, the third mark for the statement and the reason. Then we give it for this ratio here. VS divided by SP is equals to VR divided by RP. Then the reason there is a proportional theorem. RS is parallel to VW. So this one, the first mark for the mark for statement and the mark for the reason. But this one we have marked for both statement and the reason. Right, 9.2. 9.2. We have now, the question was to prove that TPVW is a cyclic quad. So what do we do here? For Q1 is equals to R1. It's a statement, we give it 1 mark. And then the second one will go for the reason, angle in the same segment. So it will be the second mark. And then the third mark then will go for R1 is equals to W, corresponding angles. RS is parallel to VW. Colleagues, we need to stress the issue of, when we have the parallel side, then we need to indicate that. So for the statement and the reason, we give 1 mark. Right, and then from there, the fourth mark will go for Q1 is equals to T, corresponding angles. TV is parallel to that. But in this case, we only give 1 mark for the statement. Statement, it's Q1 is equals to T. The final mark will go for the reason. Why we say TPV is a cyclic quad? It's a converse angle in the same segment. It's a converse angle in the same segment. Yes, colleagues, that is question 9 for 8 marks. Question 9 for 8 marks. Okay. Right, colleagues, we are about to get to the last question, which is question 10. It's about 17 marks. So we're going to take that question just 60 seconds break, and then after that, colleagues, we are back. Just consolidate and then check where you needed clarity, and then we can talk. Then I'm just going to give you just 60 seconds break, colleagues. Then we're going to come and look at question 10. Then we can now complete this marking guideline. Right, thank you. Welcome back, colleagues. We did have that oxygen break. Yes, we did have that oxygen break. Let's look at the last question, question 10, colleagues. Like I indicated, it's about 17 marks. 10.1, we need to prove that E1 is equals to 180 minus 2x. Then 10.1.2, that triangle ECD, similar to triangle CBD. Then 10.2, prove that CD squared is equals to CE times BD. And then 10.2.2, then CF squared divided by EF squared is equals to BD over DE. Right, those are the 2 questions that we're going to look at. Let's look at the distribution of the marks. Let's look at distribution of marks. Right, the first mark go for the statement. The first mark go for the statement, D1 is equals to X. First mark. Then the second mark, go for the reason, Tan-Caught theorem. Colleagues, remember, if the statement is wrong and the reason is correct, we don't give the mark for the reason. But if the statement is correct and the reason is wrong, then I will get 1 mark. Very important. Right. The third mark, C2 is equals to D1 is equals to X. It's a statement that must get a mark. Must get a mark. C2 is equals to D1 is equals to X. We'll get a mark. Right. And then the fourth mark will go for the reason. Tangent from the same point or from common point. That is a fourth mark. Please, colleagues, please, I still repeat, if the statement is wrong and the reason based on the memorandum is correct, we don't mark according to this one, colleagues. You check if the statement talks to the reason. So it means that learner will get a 0 because you cannot give something and then give that. But if the statement is correct but the reason is wrong, then the learner will get 1 for that, 1 out of 2. Right, the last mark will go for the reason, sum of the interior angles of a triangle. E1 is equals to 180 minus 2x, because the learners were supposed to prove that. So it means the final mark will go for the reason. Right, another alternative, we have D1 is equals to x, the statement 1 mark, and the reason Tan-Cot theorem will be the second mark. And then the third mark will go for C2 is equals to x, is a statement, and the reason Tan-Cot theorem. And the final mark will go for the reason, sum of the angle in a triangle, add up to 180. Yes, that will be the final mark. Right, 10.1.2, 10.1.2, then the first mark allocation will go for the statement and the reason. Both of them must be correct. C2, if angle C2 is equals to angle B is equals to x, then that is Tan-Cot theorem. Both of them must be correct. Then the learner will get this 1 mark. Right. And then the second mark will go for the statement D1 is equals to D2 is equals to x. That is the statement. Right, and therefore, then the final mark will go for the reason, angle, angle, angle. So that will be the third mark. Right, another alternative then will be the same as the first one. C2 is equals to B is equals to x, Tan-Cot theorem. That is the first mark. Then the second mark will still go for the statement, D1 equals to D2 is equals to x. And then from there, then another mark, this time go for the statement, angle E1 is equals to angle C3, which will be the third angle in that triangle. Right, the first one, if the learner only indicated two angles, then we're going to give the third mark for the reason. And this one, if the learners indicated the 3 angles, then we give each angle a mark. But the first one must go with the statement and the reason, and the last 2, then it's only statement and the statement. Then we don't have to give a mark for the reason. Right, 10.2.1. The first mark go for the statement. EC over BC is equals to CD over BD is equals to ED over CD. That statement, yes, the 2 triangles are similar, but we don't consider the reason now. Right, the second mark go for CD squared is equals to ED is equals to ED times BD. Here we are. CD squared is equals to ED times BD. Then from there, the third mark will go for ED equals to CE. The third mark then will go for indicating that ED is equals to CE. Then that is 3 marks for 10.2.1. Right, 10.2.2. 10.2.2. The first mark will go for the statement and the reason. BD is parallel to CE. The first mark will go for the statement. BD is parallel to CE. This one. Then the second mark will go for the reason. Alternating angles are equal. Alternating angles are equal. That is the reason. Right. Then the third mark will go for the statement. FE over DE is equals to FC on CB. That is the third mark. And the fourth mark will go for the reason. Line parallel to one side of a triangle. That is the fourth mark. So this one is a statement, the reason. Each will get 1 mark. Then from there, another mark then will go for squaring. Squaring. Now we have CF squared, EF squared is equals to CB squared over DE squared. Right, then from there, substitution. CD squared. You substitute CD squared equals to ED times BD. they substitute CD squared is equals to ED times BD. That will be the final mark. That will be the final mark. So this question 10.2.2, it's a 6 marks question. Right. Colleagues, question 10 takes 17 marks. Question 10 takes 17 marks. And these colleagues bring us to the end of this marking guideline. This one, colleagues, this question bring us to the end of the marking guideline discussion. Right. Colleagues, thank you very much. I want to say, please remember, this is a first examination, like I said, for mathematics, because learners, yes, they wrote June prep, something like that, but to say now they sit down for examination where we have prepared them thoroughly is this one. Please, my humble request, colleagues, after marking, colleagues, let's look at item and error analysis. It's going to guide us to say where must we focus on from here, colleagues, because now the issue of one size fit all is not working anymore. It's not working anymore. At least we need to know where must we go for the particular learner and where is the challenge with a particular learner. Good luck. I know, colleagues, it's not easy, especially now during the COVID, but we're sure that you are doing your level best. We hope that come end of the year, colleagues, will get the results that we want. But I think that can only happen if we can zoom in to the mistakes that learners are committing in this trial examination. No, thank you.